If there was ever a Pokemon I feel like I was destined to get the shiny variation of, it would be Dialga. I mean, just look at my channel, look at my setup. I am set up and ready to go. I feel like I'm trying to summon out the shiny Dialga, and I'm already seeing people post about their Shundos on it, and it's day one, which is just insane. So of course, a lot of people are out there trying to raid this Pokemon, getting themselves the shiny variation of Dialga. But once you get it, what the heck are you gonna do with it? Well, that's what we aim to answer in the deep dive series. We'll be taking a look at this Pokemon from the raid side, PvP side, discussing if it's worth unlocking a secondary charge move, and how you can actually utilize it throughout the game. If you are new to the series, we do this for any new Pokemon that ends up coming out, so if you want to stay up to date on any new Pokemon and see how it performs, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Let's start this video off by taking a look at the stats for Dialga. We've got a max AP of 4,620 with a level 51 buddy boost. And as far as the typing is concerned, very unique. We've got a steel as well as a dragon typing. So what ends up happening is this Pokemon is not going to be weak to dragon type moves because steel type resists it. So it ends up counterbalancing itself, which is very interesting and very unique for Dialga. And I think it puts it in a good spot from the raid side, and we will be talking about that very shortly. As far as its overall stats are concerned, we've got an overall ranking of 31st in Pokemon Go. Very impressive. And the way that it's able to do it is the well-roundedness of all three of these stats. The attack stat technically ranks out the highest, followed by defense, and then finally stamina. But the stamina stat, although it is its lowest out of the three, is still super high ranked, so a lot of major potential. The only thing that could hold Dialga back is the moveset, but once we get something like its signature move, I mean, expect Dialga to bump up. I'm not going to be surprised by that by any means. Up next, we've got the relative rank. And what we do with this is we take a look at Dialga and compare it to all steel types, and compare Dialga to all dragon types as well. So out of 57 steel types, we've got Dialga ranked at 4th overall. So it actually has a lot of major potential from that steel typing, because there's just not a lot of steel type legendaries that can compete against something like a Dialga. And then outside of legendaries, you do have Metagross with Meteor Mash, which is just running all on its own from that steel typing. But Dialga could give it a run for its money if we end up seeing a better moveset in the future. And then if we go ahead and take a look at the dragon types, out of 51, it technically ranks a little lower than that steel typing, where it is 11th out of 51. But once again, you're seeing that the stats are pretty tight as far as their ranks are concerned. So it's looking good from the dragon type. There's just so many dragon type Pokemon that are good. So beforehand, we mentioned something about the moveset potentially holding it back. So let's go ahead and dive into this. We've got the move Dragon Breath, which ends up working out great for PvP, but from the raid side, it's not the most ideal. And then with a move like Metal Claw, it's not good from either of those. And then with Draco Meteor, it's good enough, I guess, from the PvP side. And then from the raid side, there's better moves like Outrage, for example. Iron Head is just really bad. And then Thunder, somewhat irrelevant in this case. But what this Pokemon is able to do is still perform pretty good, but that's only because its stats are good enough to just perform despite having a bad moveset. But we will talk about it. I mean, it's still going to be able to compete. The moveset is just definitely not the most ideal by any means. So let's go ahead and take a look at Dialga, and we're going to go ahead and use it as a traditional dragon type attacker. We've got Dialga in at the 17th position, and this is sorted by time to win. So when you take a look at it that way, you're like, come on. Why would I use a Dialga when I've got so many other dragon type Pokemon? Well, the number one reason why you would use Dialga as a dragon type attacker going up against dragon type Pokemon is because of the number of feints. If you check out everything around it, you're looking at, you know, low 40s, even 50s, you know, something just pretty high up against that. But if you check out Dialga, I mean, it's the only one that I've seen that's around or less than 30 feints compared to all of these other Pokemon. The closest one is Giratina, which is pretty crazy to think about. So what ends up happening with Dialga is what it lacks in time to win, it's not going to be that one that you throw out first. It ends up picking up in lowering the number of feints that you have on your team. So personally, I think Dialga ends up working great as an anchor Pokemon. And what that means is if you've got a party of 6, you throw Dialga in at the end, and it's going to do decent damage, but what it's also going to do is avoid you having that last Pokemon feint and then having to revive your team or switch over to another team and that's just going to be time that you lose from making damage. So having Dialga in at that 6th position as an anchor holds you in the fight longer, and hopefully long enough to be able to take down the raid boss that you are trying to take down without having to do the party switch or anything like that. So Dialga does have a unique position from the raid side, even though it doesn't have the most ideal moveset. That's at least my opinion, and I would love to know how you use Dialga in the comment section below. If we go ahead and check out Dialga from the steel typing, it's actually pretty interesting if you take a look at the raid results, where we've got Shadow Metagross and regular Metagross outperforming it for time to win, and then Shadow Scizor. We finally can see that Dialga is actually not a bad steel type Pokemon. The problem is that we're going up against an Alolan Ninetales, which is double weak to the steel typing, and there just aren't a lot of Pokemon that are double weak to the steel typing. So what ends up happening is, if you're just out in just the wild, if you will, and a Pokemon is weak to the steel typing, but they're weak to something else, that simply means that Dialga is just going to end up dropping because it can't really compete against other Pokemon from the steel typing due to that bad moveset. But I just wanted to show you the potential of this Pokemon from the steel typing. Even with a bad moveset, it is able to compete in the 4th overall position, which is pretty crazy, and it's something that not a lot of people talk about, so I figured I would go ahead and cover that. Now, of course, we can go ahead and move on to the PvP section, and I've got something interesting to cover for IVs because a lot of people have questions about IVs. What's good enough for Dialga, especially if you plan on using it in the Masters League? So let's go ahead and dive into that. So we take a look at Dialga. It ends up performing best in the Master League and Master League Classic, and you want to go with Dragon Breath, Iron Head, and Draco Meteor. I have seen people actually use Thunder instead of Iron Head, but that's when they don't have like a Kyogre on their team, because Kyogre can also learn Thunder as well. But I just wanted to go ahead and mention that. And we go ahead and take a look at this Pokemon. It ends up working great as a closer, and it also works pretty good as a lead. I've ran into so many Dialga as a lead option, so it's maybe not the best way to use it, but it is very common. I guess that's a good way to say it. And then, of course, if we take a look at the IVs, when you're talking about Master League Classic and then just the regular Master League, you want to get the most ideal IVs you possibly can at a 15, 15, 15. But we've got some information from Swag Tips, who shared this the last time that people were super interested in it. And he's basically saying that as long as you can kind of hit these points, you should be good to go in the Master League Classic. You are going to want to have a 15 attack. You're just going to end up getting to a specific level where you're not able to do any more damage. You have to have a 15 attack. And then for the defense, you need 14 plus, so 14 or 15 will work. And then for HP, it's not going to be like quite as important, so you want to have at least 12 plus HP. So hopefully you end up getting this Pokemon, you know, in at least these IVs. Thank you, Swag Tips, for posting that. I know a lot of people have questions about that. I know I do as well, because I'm trying to get one ready for the Master League Classic. And as far as Dialga is concerned, that's definitely where the main value is right now in the game. People are wanting to use it from the PvP side, and unlocking a secondary charge move is going to be great from the PvP side. On the raid side, I think it does have a slot, like we talked about, for the anchor position, but there's not just as much value for this Pokemon, especially compared to PvP. But in the future, Dialga could end up being a Pokemon that is just incredible once it gets a signature movement. How many Pokemon have we said fall into that category? But anyways, I would love to know what you think about Dialga in the comment section below. How do you plan on using it? Are you excited about getting yourself the shiny? Anything and everything related to Dialga, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you next time. But not without giving a huge shout out to the supporters over at Patreon. We actually have an exclusive Discord server where we coordinate for raids. We're actually doing Dialga raids right now, so what are you doing? Make sure to check out that Patreon link in the description below if you want to get access to that, and I will see you next time.